All right. Welcome everybody to today's meetup about building better memberships website with extensions. How to use extensions to improve any WooCommerce memberships site. So we'll talk about WooCommerce memberships extension itself and some extensions that we can use to take that even further. Let's see here. Hello and welcome. My name is Marcus Burnett, and I am on the GoDaddy Care team, specifically on the WooCommerce side of things. I have over 10 years of agency experience before this, working with membership sites and WooCommerce and all sorts of different WordPress things. So that's me. Today we'll cover what WooCommerce memberships actually is to get started. And then we'll look at, I believe it's about 10 or so extensions that will help you make your WooCommerce memberships site even better. And then at the very end, we'll answer some of your questions. So make sure that you add any questions you might have to the Q&A tab in the chat. And then I also wanted to mention here that this is being recorded. So if you have to jump out at any time or just want to watch a replay of it afterwards, that will be available to you as well. I say we because I am not alone today. Our expert is Nick McLaughlin, coming to us from beautiful Portland. Nick is a technical account manager here at GoDaddy. And Nick, I'll let you tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hey there. I am on the GoDaddy Care team alongside Marcus, also kind of more focused on the WooCommerce end of things. I joined GoDaddy in October, so a little over 6 months now, I think, that I've been doing kind of this more like support style role. Before that, for about 6 or 7 years, was working with a small business here in town, kind of built out and developed their e-commerce, B2C, and also then later like B2B projects, kind of building out their website, doing all that stuff, and then have kind of moved over to the other side of the screen. I used to be, one of the folks reaching out to GoDaddy support, and now I'm the one getting to help all these other folks doing the same sort of thing on their end.
Awesome. I can't believe it's been 6 months already.
Right?
Congrats. Happy half year.
Something like that, yeah.
Nice. All right. Let's talk about what WooCommerce memberships actually is. WooCommerce memberships is a premier member management solution built for WooCommerce. Essentially, it's memberships that has been specifically designed to work with your WordPress WooCommerce site. It's 100% integrated and offers lots of different things that you can do with it. Nick, what does WooCommerce memberships allow store owners to offer?
Yeah. So the main thing to focus on, core thing that memberships is built around as a plugin, is just around the idea of restricting or controlling access to content. So obviously being integrated within WooCommerce, that can be restrictions based on the different pages that you want to give access to, or products or stuff like that. And we'll get into maybe some more specific use cases around those. But the main core focus of it is around restricting content, but then being in the WooCommerce setting, you have some other features as well, like store discounts, and things or membership discounts, and content dripping and things like that can kind of push a little bit further. Memberships itself, as far as gaining access to a membership, can be handled either through manual assignment, where you're going in the admin and choosing who's in what groups, which for some folks is the best way to go. You can also set it up to work through the WordPress or WooCommerce user registration system. So as soon as somebody signs up for an account on your site, they are granted a certain level of membership access, and you can control what level that is. And then we also have a setting to grant access through product purchase. So this could be, if they purchase a product on your site, you also give them this membership as a bonus, or you can make that product essentially just be the membership itself, that you're selling access to have paid access for a paid membership. program on your site.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about it is just the flexibility, right? The different ways that people can become a member, and then all of the different things that that you then get the benefits of being a member. You can offer, like you said, restriction and discounts, or even free shipping is one of the things that comes built in as well that you can offer for members. So I just love that there are lots of ways that you can configure that right out of the box, just to do all sorts of different things already. With that out of the way, let's talk about what kind of sites might want to use memberships. Membership sites come in many varieties. There are some listed on the screen here, but it's certainly not an all-inclusive list. Nick, can you tell us a little bit about what kinds of sites you might use WooCommerce memberships for?
Yeah, I think we see a lot, and even looking at just at the ones that are listed here, I think some of these are kind of maybe more general than they might appear at first. So like a purchasing club, can kind of cover a lot of use cases, really, as far as exactly like what you have in mind when you're setting it up and how that translates into the kind of features and settings that you might want to be using in memberships. I feel like that might be the most common that I've seen, is somebody who wants to provide either members only access to their products or discounts on certain products or something like that is probably the most common. And being a WooCommerce extension specifically, I think that's maybe like the most targeted group that we're operating within. But like you said, like the flexibility there allows for a lot of other applications. I see a lot of folks using memberships as sort of a paid community access management, so they can access their manage their members through the memberships plugin and admin in the back end. And then they have front end stuff set up on their site where they have access to forums or specific events or something like that that are only listed and only shown to members. Publishers also we're trying to use that as a broad term, right? Like you don't have to be, I think when I see publishers, I'm like, I guess if I want to print a book or something, but I think especially in a WooCommerce space, we're talking e-commerce, we're talking a lot of like digital products and stuff as well, digital content. So this could be really just about anything. I mean, you can get into like, I think maybe the most natural next step is like ebooks, right? Or like, okay, clearly that's publishing, but I mean, it's not limited by what kind of media you're doing, right? So it could be musicians, it could be tutorial videos that you're making that you want people to have to pay to access this specific content on your site. Boom, there you go. Memberships is going to help you do that. We mentioned learning there as well. Again, that's a pretty broad strokes application. So with online learning, you can get a specific like learning community where that's kind of what the site is built around, where you just have a whole bunch of different kinds of tutorials or courses or whatever that you're teaching. But that can also be, like a corporate infrastructure or intranet. I mean, corporate learning. So you're teaching people how to do things at your company and stuff like that, like internally. You could use memberships to control who has access to what videos and when. And in that case, maybe you don't want to make them pay for it, but you can still assign folks to different membership plans that give them access to these different learning programs that you have set up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of these cut to exactly what you were saying on the last slide there with the content restriction, right? And then in addition to that, having the ability to decide when the restrictions are lifted, whether that's like dripped content out over time or immediate access or any of that, those lend themselves well to like the online learning and publishers as well, right? Being able to have things behind that paywall, or even just manually assigning those memberships if you don't want to necessarily charge for them. You have the flexibility again to do all of that. All right. Now we'll get into the portion where we talk about some extensions to make your membership site even better. So let's just get right into the first one. The first one I have here is WooCommerce Social Login. Social Login allows members to log into your site with their social media platforms. I believe that most of the most common ones are included, including Facebook, Amazon, Google, PayPal. There are a number more. You can see some in the screenshot there. Nick, why would something like this be useful for members?
Oh man, if you want me to sign up for something, it's great. I always
Same,
feel really
same for
targeted.
me.
Yeah, I always feel really targeted by this one. I'm just not huge on having to set up a new password and remember it. And if I can have that linked to an existing account that I already have, that's a huge bonus for me personally. But it also, I mean, I think it's on the slide, like it carries out in the data as well. 77% of customers preferring to use social login for e-commerce. I think especially if you're looking into like a small business setup where somebody, may or may not want to sign up for, like, set up an account on your site because maybe they think they're only going to order once or something. Like, giving them a social login option kind of reduces the friction that might be there mentally for them in signing up. And then they are still signed up for an account. So then you can still kind of do your kind of customer chasing after that to try and get a little more like lifetime value out of that customer. But for them, it's just an easier, like a reduced barrier to entry to get in quick without having to go through a whole bunch of hoops. I will know, I think the screenshot there is, I think that's all of the options. But you don't have to display them all like that.
Right.
You can have just one or two that you might want to, that you think like are maybe like more relevant to your audience. But yes, there's plenty to choose from there.
Yeah, 77% is pretty high. That's, more than 3/4 of people are looking for that. We don't have it in one of the slides here, but one of the previous presentations that I had done recently was saying that one of the reasons that customers abandon their carts, like 60% of the time, it's because it was just taking too long to check out. And like one of the bullet points notes here, you can do this at checkout as well. So it helps folks be able to streamline the checkout process, as well as integrating with a number of other plugins like Products Review Pro, which we also don't have in this particular presentation. But yeah, that's for setting up some real nice reviews for your products and that kind of thing. But social login integrates well with a number of different things, including WooCommerce's own checkout to make it go that much faster.
Yeah, and then just to tie that back into memberships, I guess, like setting up a membership is going to require an account. They're going to have to create an account on your site to be able to assign the membership status to. Like, that's how the plugin works. So again, being able to reduce the friction, make that easier for folks to create an account in the first place means it's that much easier for you to be able to attach your membership status to. Yeah,
definitely. All right, moving on to the next one, WP Bouncer. WP Bouncer is a free plugin on WordPress.org that allows you to prevent multiple logins on your site at the same time. Nick, have you encountered this before, and why would you want to limit logins for a membership site?
I don't think you ever should. I'm looking at our Netflix number there and I'm like, no, don't do it. I think it really depends on your use case. But definitely like being able to prevent multiple logins either. I haven't run into this one. I haven't used this one a whole ton, I guess is what I'll say. I've definitely encountered folks who are looking for something like it. But yeah, it's mostly just making sure, and I think it's really huge, I guess, for like a paid membership site, right? Where you want to make sure that if somebody's accessing the content that you have restricted, that they've paid for that access, and that there's not just like a single user account being shared by whatever 8 people that usually happens, with certain ones that we call out on this slide called Netflix. Sorry, I just don't believe that 37% number. I feel like it's much higher. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, definitely. Just a couple of things there, right? Depending on which perspective you're coming from, I guess, will decide how you feel about this plugin. From the customer side, there's obviously the inclination to say, well, I want to just share someone else's password, so let me do that. But from, the store side, from the membership site side, you're going to want to make sure that that's not being abused, that you don't have a number of folks using the same login and password, getting the same benefits. We will get into a way to have some team stuff later on in the presentation, so look out for that. The other thing to note here is just that when you set this up, it allows you to redirect those, the second, third, whatever logins to a specific page. And then you can use that. It's pretty poorly represented here in the screenshot, just says login warning. But you can make your own page and then use that as a sales opportunity as well, right? You don't.
Right.
It looks like you might be already logged in. If you'd like to create an additional membership, click here, go through the checkout process and all that. So it also becomes a sales opportunity at that point to go ahead and make another sale for someone else that's trying to access the same content.
Yeah, and WP Bouncer does allow you to set a certain number of logins that you allow. So if you do want to say okay, this gives access to 2 or 3 at once, you can do that. Also, if you think folks might be using it from multiple devices at once, that's something to take into consideration. But it at least has some flexibility in it to where it's not okay, I flip this switch and now everybody's stuck at one. But like you said, we'll talk about teams as well. We'll kind of get into some more of that, shared account access kind of stuff, where you might have one account that's being paid for that you want a team of people to get access through. So that'll be a little more fleshed out there.
Yeah, getting ahead of us a little bit, but we will get there shortly. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is user switching, which allows you to navigate your site and experience it the way that one of your members would as well. How does this speed up development and site maintenance, Nick? And have you recommended this to folks before?
Yes, if you ever want to reach out to support to have them help out, it's very useful that you don't have to set up a separate membership account. It's something that we love as a support team. Love to see when folks are using that. As a site admin or developer or manager, it's really great for being able to check the user experience on the front end for membership accounts. The same sort of thing. You don't want to have to set up a separate specific account and log out and log back into that one. And then once you see what the front end looks like, you have to log out and log back into your admin account. Streamlines that whole process where you can just have that view site as member button and quickly see okay, what does this look like? Make sure that your restrictions are working the way that you think that they should, that you want them to. And also, some of the content restriction with memberships, you can allow excerpts to show for the different restricted pages, so folks can see the first paragraph of an article or something like that. So user switching is a really cool way to make sure that okay, for this new article I just posted, let me make sure that looks right for somebody who either is a member or isn't a member, or however you need to see it. User switching is a really good way to be able to bounce around between those different views while you're setting things up without having to do the whole manual in and out.
Yeah, in practice, it allows you to switch, and then a little link will show up on the page to allow you to quickly switch back to the administrator account that you're using. Keeps you having to log in and out of a bunch of accounts, and also the bullet point at the end here says passwords are not revealed in this, so it's just an easy one-click switch to a different user and switch back so that you can do your testing properly.
And it's free.
And it's free, that's right. All right, moving on to the next one, which is another free plugin called Nav Menu Roles, and this allows you to show and hide navigation items based on the roles that your user has, which can be set by memberships also. Nick, what would you use this extension for in a membership site?
Yeah, so you can already just natively within memberships, you can restrict access to certain pages and things. But depending on what that page is that you want to give access to, it might be a pretty core feature of your site for those members. And so being able to give them a nav menu button to get directly to that, in a community membership setup, if you have a forum set up on your site, that's probably a pretty big thing that they're buying in for. And this lets you kind of draw that right up to the top of the site. and give a lot quicker access to that, so they don't have to figure out how to navigate to these this stuff that they paid for, right? I think it definitely improves. Oh yeah, right there, 94% of website users say that good navigation matters, right? You're improving the user experience for your members who are paying for this, additional access. So it's a really big thing to be able to help them out with. I think one thing I would note, we have the bullet for that too, is to set up the nav menus roles bridge. It's kind of a little mini extra plugin that handles the compatibility with, or the integration with, memberships. And that's just necessary because memberships doesn't actually assign roles within, like, as far as how like WordPress roles usually work. It assigns the membership to just the user as a separate post type. A little technical there, but point being just that a lot of folks expect it to work on a role basis. So nav menu roles does have an integration to allow for that, but the memberships itself doesn't do the role swapping.
Yeah, this stat makes me wonder what life is like for the other 6% of folks who don't care about good navigation. Their web surfing experience must be rough. And Christos, we will add the links to all of these things in the notes when we make the replay available. So in reiterating, there will be the replay available for this whole thing, and we will include the description and links and stuff in the show notes as well. All right, and the next one is MailChimp for WooCommerce memberships. This extension allows you to essentially connect your WooCommerce member service and email marketing service like MailChimp, and share membership data across to that as well. Why would you want to use a service like MailChimp in the first place, Nick? And how would this extension help with that?
I mean, MailChimp, right, is really great for just kind of marketing management in general. I know they have a lot of different features. Email marketing being maybe like their flagship core feature that they're best known for. And the extension specifically with memberships allows you to use your membership plans that folks can be members of as segments for your MailChimp marketing. So you can target email marketing, for example, specifically to members of a certain plan. And it's really smooth. Once you get your segments set up, they will like automatically update I guess to MailChimp. There wouldn't be any updating coming back the other way. But so if somebody like changes their membership plan or joins or whatever, it'll automatically, once the segment is assigned, it'll automatically add them to that segment in MailChimp. And again, this is using like their WordPress account, their WooCommerce customer account data, their email address that they had to set up on your site to include in that mailing list on the MailChimp end. It gives you a lot more flexibility in your and just capacity in your ability to communicate to your members more easily than trying to send out a note through WordPress admin or something like that, or download an email list and whatever. Like it's a lot more streamlined. I'm trying to think of other ways that you would do this. It'd be messy. This is a really good way to do it, and to be able to have a little bit more than just the kind of core transactional emails that are maybe built into memberships. But if you want to do some additional marketing efforts on top of that, MailChimp's a great way to go. And then this is how to connect there.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking at some other notes, so correct me if you already mentioned it, but the reliability, of course, of MailChimp is definitely a bonus there, right? Depending on your server, you're hosting different connections and stuff. A lot of times, memberships hooks into WordPress's email system. WordPress's email system relies on certain hosting features, and having of that allows you to kind of offload that for one, and then allow your resources to be, distributed away from your website so that your website continues to be performant and all that as well. So definitely
Right.
a bonus there of kind of separating concerns and letting a service like MailChimp handle email deliverability and reliability as well.
Mhm. Yeah, especially if you're trying to send out like large email blasts to your members, like very helpful to have that not eating up your site bandwidth.
Yep. All right, we're going to move on to a larger one here, WooCommerce subscriptions, which integrates tightly with memberships to allow you to sell recurring memberships, recurring subscriptions to your members. Nick, what are the benefits of pairing subscriptions with memberships?
Yeah, getting paid.
Yeah.
The really like the
Moving
core,
on. No, I'm just kidding.
That's it. Yeah, otherwise you don't get money. That's not true. But the core bonus here with subscriptions is the automated recurring payments, right? You can set up renewals. You can set up like paid membership access through just like the core memberships plugin. Adding the subscriptions integration gives you that automated renewal, so you can set up to have members paying per month for their membership and subscription access. A little behind the curtain technicality of how it works, like both subscriptions and memberships are linked to the product purchase, right? So your customer is purchasing a subscription product, you set that up to grant access to a membership plan, and then those are connected to tie into the renewal as well. And there's a few options in how exactly you want those connected. So for example, you could use subscriptions to set up like a monthly installation payment plan where, say, somebody pays whatever, $25 a month for the first 3 months, and then they have unlimited access. You can set that up to where it's just like the first bit that they have to pay, or you can tie it completely to the subscription plan itself. So as long as they're paying, it's just kind of ongoing. And that's the kind of thing that will allow you to get a lot more like value from customers, from your members who are already signing up, but also kind of allow them to feel like they have some more control over like, okay, how long am I really paying for this versus, having to pay for everything up front, and then is it worth it for me? Again, kind of allowing you to lower that barrier of entry for folks who might see a whatever $300 for a year's worth of access price tag and panic. But if you can lower that to a monthly rate, helps out a lot there. And subscriptions will help you do that in an automated way. There's a couple other features that we mentioned on there, being able to upgrade and downgrade, cross-grade also between like memberships and subscriptions. So subscriptions has a switching feature that when that's tied to memberships means that people can kind of more easily through their account on your site switch between plans. And then the free trials is a pretty big one that maybe we don't really think of being necessary here, but allows you to, allows folks to get in and access that content and see what the experience might be like on a limited basis. And then you can, specify how long that is and when the actual payment starts afterwards.
Yep, and I'd be remiss not to mention that you recently did a podcast episode on our podcast E-commerce Unscripted about subscriptions with our colleague Tabitha. So I'll leave a link in the chat here in a moment and in the show notes for that as well if you want to hear Nick and Tabitha talk more about subscriptions.
Yeah, it's a fun time. We got in a lot about like just like different use cases for why folks might use subscriptions and some of our own experience with it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Keeping with subscriptions for now, let's talk about WooCommerce subscription downloads, which allows you to offer downloads that are connected to your products in conjunction with subscriptions and memberships. Nick, why would something like this be useful?
Right. Yeah. The content management tag at the top of the slide there is really what's happening here. We're building a bit of a tapestry, right? So we've got the memberships core, the subscription. I mean, really, like those are both pretty core plugins for a site. And then the downloads that also builds off of that and ties in, right? So this is getting into the extension world a bit. The downloads is especially for like the publishers sort of segment that we mentioned earlier. If you're giving folks access to digital content on your site, this is a good way to be able to control how they access that, and lets you set up some some different allows for some different structure or models around like access to that content that go a bit further than just the kind of core membership functionality, and that's specific to like digital content. So I think it's in the, I'm looking at, yeah, the screenshot there shows that you can set up a number of downloads that somebody has that a member would have access to, what files they have access to, and then also like if that limited number that they get, if that ever expires. So you could use this to say, set up a program where somebody gets, 5 downloads a month from your ebook store, or they get, and then you can have that be either, you could structure that either like with the expiration date. I mean, to be either like you have to use those 5 in a month, and at the end of the month they don't roll over, or just add 5 every month and they can build up. However, that might be a little out of control, and maybe not the best example of the use of that. 5 books a month forever. But yeah, you get the idea. There's some room and flexibility to adjust to different models for how you want folks to be able to access, depending on what makes sense for your site.
Yeah, I've experienced this a lot with like stock photography sites and that kind of thing, where you get a certain number of downloads every month, or depending on your plan, maybe you just get all of them, or whatever the case is. But being able to set something like that up, you could do that with this as well. Continuing with the subscriptions theme, one more, gifting for WooCommerce subscriptions, allowing you to essentially gift a membership in conjunction with a subscription product to another customer, for them to be able to provide a membership for friend, family, etc. How would this be good for a store's sales, you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely like just giving folks an option. If they are finding benefit or already in their membership access, giving them the option to be able to share that as a gift is always going to be great. That builds on whatever like sort of word of mouth marketing you might already be trying to drum up through your own efforts, and allowing them to really act on that and hand those things out. The plugin itself is pretty sweet in that like you could do something similar to this with like a gift card setup or voucher setup, where somebody could give a gift card that lets the recipient purchase the product. But the nice thing with this plugin is that it will automatically set up a user account on the site for the recipient, and send them an email to say, hey, somebody's giving you this. And obviously, you got your email template that you can customize there of exactly what that looks like. And then that subscription can be managed by the purchaser or the recipient. So if you want to give somebody, the gift that keeps on giving and pay for their subscription every month or whatever, you can do that. Or you can set it up to where like, hey, I'm going to give you the first month for this. And then it's kind of up to them to decide what they want to do with it. That management can go either way, but the account for the recipient is automatically set up, and the membership access will be granted to the recipient as well, so that they'll just right away have that access set up as soon as they create their login and get on the site.
Yeah, we have this stat here that 91% of people have waited until the last second to buy a gift. I'm 100% in that 91%, and definitely have waited till the last minute. And usually that ends up being a gift card of some kind to someone. But I am a fan of being able to gift a membership, something that's going to last a little bit longer than one evening out at a restaurant or something like that. And this is a great way to be able to set that up for people to be able to gift your membership to someone else. All right, switching gears away from subscriptions now, let's talk about Sensei LMS, which is a learning management software, which I know you know a bit about, Nick. What can you tell us about Sensei and its tie-in to memberships specifically?
Yeah. So Sensei is pretty great. So yeah, we've got it on there. Courses and quizzes. It's really like its the core 2 offerings. It's a free extension built by same folks who make WooCommerce. So it's really well integrated into the whole system there. Meaning, I guess, like details behind that, it works with like all your default WooCommerce themes. It's going to work with your other plugins that work with WooCommerce. It's very integrated as far as if you have a store and want to add a learning element to it. Sensei is a super sweet way to get that going. It's also free. I don't know if I already said that, but it just makes it like impossible to beat as far as like, especially like getting started. If you want to set up some learning, so the integration with memberships allows you to control who has access to what courses, and then you can sell access to those courses as products, either individually to give sort of a membership for each course, essentially, so that so you're buying the course content essentially, or course access, or in a bundle where you maybe have a whole suite on a topic that you want to give folks access to. For WooCommerce, like especially sales wise, like that's a great way to do it. But also, I think I mentioned previously the sort of corporate learning setup. Sensei is going to give you a good way to manage that course content first. And then you can also use that to control who has access to which of those courses through the integration with memberships.
Yep, it's feeling like maybe we should have had our team's memberships slide a little bit sooner in this presentation since it's lent itself to a few of these.
Yeah.
But it is next, so let's just go right into it. Let's talk about teams for WooCommerce memberships, which, as the name implies, allows you to set up memberships for selling to groups, companies, families, any other teams. Who might be looking to sell memberships to their teams, Nick?
Yeah, corporate learning accounts. I keep saying those three words, but they're a really big target here. There's definitely other use cases. I think it's really anytime you might want to have the relationship of like billing to learning not be one, or even like billing to access, right? It doesn't have to be in a learning setup, not be necessarily one-to-one, where you want, one billing party or something, like one account that's responsible for paying the bills, that can give access to a whole bunch of folks to whatever content is that you're restricting on your site. And like I said, like the LMS connection there is huge, where you might have a company who wants to buy access to your business courses that you have on your site, and the company obviously doesn't want each of their employees to have to worry about paying for a separate membership account. So you get that all on one, and then they can add a number of seats to their team and then bring folks onto that team. It's all tied to that same billing record, and the team owner, whoever's in charge of the billing, can also manage those team member accounts to an extent, where they can control like who is on them and who's not, and add seats, remove seats, stuff like that, based on what sort of allowances you give them in the plugin settings.
Yeah, the biggest benefit there obviously being the single billing record, and then as we noted, it also ties into subscriptions as well. So you get the whole thing. The whole thing comes together. You have memberships. You can sell them in a team setting with one billing record, and then you can add that recurring billing on top of that as well, so that the person who is in charge of billing has a subscription for that team, and it automatically renews, and you make the money. That's the goal here with all of this, right? So, that kind of brings us to our Q&A section here. Thanks everyone for sticking with us through all of those extensions. I took a look. I don't see a whole lot in the Q&A at the moment. So I have a couple that I pulled from our support channel that I can throw your way there, Nick. And if any pop up in the Q&A in the meantime, we can take a look at those as well. So let's go with one that I got via email earlier. Can I gift memberships based on how much a customer has spent at my store? Is there a way to automate a way to gift memberships to folks based on their spending habits?
Not built into memberships that I can think of as a way to do that. But I do know a tool like Automate Woo would be really key here, which allows you. I wish we don't have a slide ready for this one because we're just doing it live. But they're pretty solid. I mean, I don't know. I think in our support chats we always say like, what can't Automate Woo do? It's a really great plugin, but it allows you to set up custom like event triggers and actions that happen on your site based on a lot of different things. And one of those I know is customer spending. So once a customer reaches a certain level, you can use Automate Woo, which integrates with memberships to grant them access to a membership plan that way. I think you could also, in that same action, trigger an email to them, to let them know about it and celebrate their great new access status that they have on your site. That's at least the first way that comes to mind would be an Automate Woo integration.
Yep, 100%. That is what I would recommend as well, is Automate Woo. I think I heard one of our colleagues, Simon, referred to it as the Swiss Army knife for WooCommerce, and I think that's spot on. I mean, it's basically a trigger and action system, and you can write your own triggers and actions as well if you have some development resources. But it comes with all sorts of different triggers and actions, including granting memberships. There's integration with subscriptions and memberships as well there, granting memberships and creating membership plans and all of that based on a number of things. And it's also a great email system as well to do some automated email stuff, which we've gone into in a couple of other webinars. But Automate Woo is definitely a fantastic plugin that does quite a bit. Let's see, we do have one in the Q&A. Can you use memberships to restrict custom content types and set media limits like upload number of photos per plan? I think we did touch on that a tiny bit. Restrict custom content types. Yes, right, Nick? Can absolutely restrict custom content types, and then set media limits like upload X number of photos per plan. Does that tie back into the subscriptions downloads, Nick, you think?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was wanting to see, I'm not positive about the uploading option. I know, right, like it's subscription downloads.
Uploading, okay.
Yeah, it'll allow you to limit how much access they have to your content, but I'm not sure about how much like content the user themselves can post. Yes would be my first instinctual answer. It's like, yes, it's possible. I'm trying to think of the best way to set that up, and I'm not sure if I've got it on the spot.
Yeah, I think I misread the intent here, and I think it's more along the lines of content creation rather than accessing restricted content. I think for something like that, you'd probably need to wrap in like a Gravity Forms or something to be able to have members have access to the form and then use the form to allow them to create the content for the site and let that handle X number of uploads and that kind of thing. That would be my recommendation. Probably need to tie it into something like Gravity Forms as well. Let's see. It does look like I have one more question in the chat at the moment. What would you suggest for a front end as an example for various SaaS software and resources? What do you think, Nick?
I'm curious, is that tying, I guess I'm wondering, is that tied into for memberships specifically, or a membership site specifically, or just kind of in general front end software sources? Okay, for memberships specifically. Yeah, I mean, so memberships basically is just adding like the restriction rules onto WooCommerce and WordPress user posts is what they ultimately are. So it's pretty agnostic of what you're doing on the front end. There is some front end functionality that's added in like the account area, where folks can view the different a few different things relevant to their membership plan. But in the most part, you're free to use anything that would work within WooCommerce. I don't know, Marcus, if you have like some recommendations on that end, maybe more from your like agency days. What you guys liked to use there?
Yeah, we ended up doing a lot of custom theme development and stuff. But like you said, I think because it's somewhat agnostic from the front end, right? It's a lot of just under the hood content restriction type stuff. You're pretty open to being able to use use whatever you'd like, I would say there. All right, that looks like it is it for the Q&A. So I will set us here. Thank you all again for hanging out with us today. Hopefully you learned about a few extensions that you didn't already know about, or learned about some that you did know about but didn't know everything that they could do quite yet. If you're interested, some of the extensions here, including WooCommerce memberships itself, are free as part of GoDaddy's managed WordPress e-commerce hosting, which includes more than 75 free and premium plugins, free SSL, free domain, and expert WooCommerce support, and that all starts at $20 per month. Also, be sure to check out our past WooCommerce webinars on the GoDaddy Pro events site or the GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. And next week, Brian Richards of WP Sessions will be presenting a memberships case study for his site, WP Sessions. So be sure to register for that as well. Thanks again, Nick, and I will see you all next time.